Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or the guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Straight Up with MS and all its crazy little circles here on MS&Me Radio, brought to you by the MS Global Support Network. And I'm your host, Patty Long, and you can find me at MSNit for Life, and I spell that MSENIT, the number 4, LIFE. I am currently on Twitter, trying to figure out how to get my MSNit for Life name on Facebook, and trying to figure out how to upload my great videos onto YouTube. I've had a lot of trouble doing that, even though it should be simple, but that's MS for you. It gobbles up your skills, and you have to learn new skills and relearn old ones. So I'm still in the process of relearning things, including how to think with my mouth closed. I drove everybody nuts on board the Lady of Avenel, I am sure. And that's kind of what I was going to talk to you guys about today, because the Lady of Avenel going sailing with the Oceans of Hope on this tall ship challenge, I should say. It was an amazing opportunity, and of course the Oceans of Hope are the ones who made it all possible. And I can't say enough about what the Oceans of Hope are doing for people with MS and for others with neurological conditions. And it's just amazing. There's all this cool stuff out there that we can do. It doesn't matter that we have MS. It doesn't matter that we don't think straight. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is that we try and that we go for it and we do our best. And that's basically it. But I do know I drove everybody nuts because I'm used to being alone all the time. And so my mouth running as a way to think isn't a problem at home because I'm here by myself. But my mouth running in order to think elsewhere is, especially being in England and Scotland, where everybody is so quiet, and here I am, this loudmouth American, which I'm not really that much of a loudmouth for an American, but I am much louder than the people in England and Scotland were, and very much louder than the Danish and many other European cultures. So that was kind of an issue. So for my next challenge that I do, it will have to be learning to think to myself. But that's kind of how I learn stuff and how I figure stuff out, When we're kids, we learn in different ways. And some kids learn by writing it out. You've got your list of spelling words and you write them 10 times and then you write them 10 times again. And they learn it by writing it. And some kids learn by doing. And other kids learn through vocalization, and in that sense, that is the type of learner that I am. So, like my youngest son, he learned through vocalization as well. So when he needed to learn his spelling words, telling him to write them over and over and over and over again didn't make it stick. What made it stick was that saying it out loud and spelling it out loud. And that's the way I learned. So my brain doesn't work so great. which is obvious by the fact that I still haven't figured out YouTube and how to get videos actually posted on YouTube, and that I haven't figured out how to get on Facebook under my MS and It for Life name. So, because you're not going to find me under my actual name. If you search for Patty Long, you're going to find, a ton of people with my name. So, by using the MS and It for Life, then that makes it much easier to find me. And, these are hard things for me now. And yet, prior to all this, I was in a highly technical field. I wrote code and for both the data analysis program that we used and for things like Word and Excel and PowerPoint. And these aren't easy things to do. And I was self-taught with all of them. I never went to college. Well, I did go to college, but only for like a year and a half. And then I had a really bad car accident and got way far behind and just kind of threw my hands up in the air and gave up. But back then, it was okay to do that because you could still get a job and you could learn on the job. So, it's a different time now. So now it's like kids almost have to go to college to get a job, which is a shame because college is just teaching you how to be a good student, in my opinion, and you still have way more to learn when you land that job. And you don't learn everything you need to know in a college setting. So I skipped that setting and went to work and took on a ton of different temporary assignments so that I could get an education. And that worked perfectly. But now, with the brain tumor that was removed successfully, thank goodness, and with MS, with those two things eating away at my cognitive skills, I'm left trying to relearn how to do stuff. And I've done much better relearning the physical than I have the cognitive. So, I kind of drove people nuts with my chattering, mostly to myself, to try and figure out what I was doing or how to do something and which way I needed to turn the rope or which way, to go and how to fix my camera settings and why it didn't work, So all that chattering was something that these people just couldn't wrap their heads around because they live in such a quiet world and I don't, and that's part of where I come from, but it's also part of how I learn. So I apologize if any of you guys from the Lady of Avenel are listening for driving you so bonkers. But it was the greatest experience because first I got to meet other people who have the same disease that I have, and we were all in different places with it. And of course, since I have worked as hard as I have worked on all this physical stuff, and I can walk and I can use my arms, I was able to climb the mast. Oh my gosh, was that ever amazing. You're climbing up this thing and climbing, and of course it's done with safety harnesses on. It was a very safe climb, and it was for everybody. And I got the privilege of witnessing as people's forgot they had this disease and forgot that their leg didn't work, and then all of a sudden it worked. And I'm thinking, yeah, because when we're not thinking so hard about trying to make that foot move, it moves based on your muscles' memories. So this is kind of how I got started, was by creating muscle memory again, because I had been for so long unable and without any guidance or any help in how to do things. And what I was doing, just moving or just trying to move, wasn't enough. I had to do things in a different way. And so I went to physical therapy. I got hooked on pedaling, especially pedaling on my free pedals, as I call them. They're floor pedals where you sit in your own chair, so you adjust how tall you need to be or short you need to be based on your chair height. And you're pedaling for your knees to go straight up and down instead of a leg extension, which kind of sets up your muscles for walking and lifting your feet. And that's where I started, was trying to recreate that muscle memory. And I was successful at it. And I was successful at getting my arms to work again, and even to bring my core back, which I did with breathing, y'all. Breathing and counting, you just say the number and make that number one extend out until you're completely out of breath, or you can just blow the air out and blow and blow and blow until you're completely out of breath, and it automatically, just breathing, tightens everything in your core. So it was very simple, but yet not simple, because when I first started doing these things, I had to use my hands on my knees and kind of use my body weight to help push those knees down. And so it wasn't easy, but yet these are simple things that anybody can do once they know about them. And that's key, because the just moving wasn't working, at least not for me. So I had to do more, and getting in physical therapy when I did was an essential part of my recovery with this disease. And then, of course, my DMT, which I am very pro DMT. And I had a girl chew me out online because I'm pro DMT, and she was not. And, I'm sorry that she's not, because I don't think people understand that the DMT that you take isn't just for today. It isn't just for tomorrow, but it is for 10 years from now, 20 years from now, because MS is something that can grow and grow and grow, and you're clueless to it, which was obvious by me, because I did not know there was anything wrong. I never went from doctor to doctor to doctor saying, oh, there's something wrong with me. Can't you figure it out? Why can't you figure it out? There was none of that. I never went to the doctor. I hadn't been to a doctor. I didn't even have a doctor. So, and then just one day it absolutely hit me. And, I started going blind, and I was blind well within, 4 or 5 days. And I lost the use of my legs. I lost the use of my arms, and I couldn't think. I didn't know what world I was in, and I could barely speak. And that was just the very first attack of many, because I had them every other month, every 2 months, and I'm in a new attack, brand new attack. And in between these attacks, I was having new symptoms popping up, and progression, as they defined it medically, based on MRI scans and things. So, you can do things to make yourself better. And to start with, you got to not believe in the crystal ball, because once you start believing in that old crystal ball, then you quit trying as hard, and you just let the prophecy become true, because you're believing that I'm going to have to be in a wheelchair, or I'm going to have to this, or I'm going to be bedridden, or whatever. I'm never going to be able to. And I totally hate the crystal ball. And I know hate's a really bad, strong word, but it, I think, is the appropriate one for the crystal ball, because too many people out there are hearing this negativity and believing that they have no choice in the matter, but you do. So I encourage everybody to try and get into physical therapy and to get their gait straightened out, to pedal, to do their exercises. Some people love yoga. Now, yoga, from what I understand, is very good for some people. For me, it was lousy. And I know this because I did some yoga with an instructor on the Lady of Avenel, and it sent my back into muscle spasms, and they were bad, and I had to take several hours out of my day to get those muscle spasms to calm down. I had to take my emergency medications and the whole 9 yards. So for me, yoga didn't get along with the issues that I have. So it wasn't something that was successful for me. But I do know that it is very successful for many people. I just didn't happen to be one of them. And then there's also been the kind of thing that I do, which is functional strength training. And that is where I have been very successful. It's not about holding positions at all. You never hold a thing. You know, there's no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 count or anything. So it's just, and they're not necessarily quick movements. You need to do them slowly, but you're not stopping and holding any certain positions. And that, I think it was that part of the yoga that started the back spasms that I was having. And of course those spasms are on the sciatic nerve, so there's no fun in that. Fortunately, I did have emergency medications as prescribed by my doctor, who prescribed them so that I wouldn't end up in an ER here in South Carolina, because they don't know what MS is, and have to ask me what tests to do, or what medicine to give me, or what's Tecfidera? You're on what? I've never heard of that. Do you have it with you? So, this emergency medication that he gives me is what I needed to get the spasms stopped, and then, just rest. So I was out for a while that day, but, and I learned not to try and do these yoga moves where you're twisting from one side to the other. That and my back just don't go together. So anyways, but back to the Lady of Avenel. It was such a fantastic thing. And I encourage everybody to keep pushing themselves and to look up the Oceans of Hope. They're at oceansofhope.org. And there's also Wilderness Inquiries here in the United States, who they're out of the Twin Cities, and they provide all kinds of challenges for people like us as well. So there are these great programs, and I do encourage you to quit thinking along the lines of I can't and I'll never, and start thinking I can and I will be able to again. Or, and I'm still this way about my thinking. I know that, like I said, I think out loud. I know that drove everybody nuts. Now, I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't have been on that sailing challenge, because I'm home alone. But, well, with my dog. But Hachi doesn't care if I run my mouth, so he's fine with it. But other people maybe not so much. So I am going to have to learn to think to myself instead of out loud. So that is going to be a challenge for me to do this next year. And I hope to be able to go on another sailing challenge. The one that I was on the Lady of Avenel. But they have others as well in various countries. And I'd love to be able to do them all. But I think before I sign up to do more, I need to learn how to think quietly. I don't want to drive everybody crazy. So yeah, that was my only issue on the ship, was that I could not think without what I thought coming out of my mouth. So it did present its own challenges, but we muddled through it, and I muddled through it, and I made it through the entire week, and I had a really good time. So, I climbed that mast. I saw the most amazing stuff as I was way up high in there. And then I also climbed out onto the bowsprit out in the front of this square. It was a 102-foot square brigantine. So I climbed out onto the bowsprit. I got to steer the ship. I did pretty much everything that I wanted to do. The only thing I didn't do was go ashore when they went to the island. And I didn't do that because I really, really, really needed a shower after trying to pick up a thing of water that was just nasty, dirty water. And the bucket broke and it spilled all over me. It just folded up, and I was drowned in this stuff, and it was, oh gosh, that was the grossest thing. So I was in the shower when they were all leaving. And then I didn't do the wild swimming. Now, I chose not to do the wild swimming, even though I love to go swimming, and I would have loved to have done it. But the water temperature was at 8 degrees Celsius. Now, y'all, if you add 15 to 8, you get 23, and then you multiply it by 2, and that comes to 46. Yay, I did a little bit of math. Actually, I had it wrote down. But the point is, 46-degree water was way too cold for me to get into. I have temperature change intolerance, meaning that if I get accustomed to it being 70 degrees outside, then I'm good at 70, I'm good at 60, I'm good at 80. But anything bigger swing than that 10 degrees, and I am going to freeze up. It doesn't matter that it goes hotter. I will freeze up. My muscles won't work. In the heat part of it, though, I actually can end up with problems there, like most people with MS have, where the heat just exhausts them immediately and they can't get up and move. So, I figured jumping into this 8 degrees Celsius water was not a good idea. My muscles would have froze and I would have sunk. So I did not do that one. There was a girl on the ship. Her name was Lisa. And she was talking to me about how she prepared for cold and how great cold water and all is, because it's a natural reduction for inflammation. It naturally reduces inflammation. And if you remember being a kid and getting hurt and your mom put an ice pack on it, and it made it feel better, that is why, because it reduced the inflammation. Now, I don't have cold enough water. I live in what's supposed to be the sunny south, although we've had more rain than England. So I don't know that I would call it the sunny south this summer. But even in the wintertime, my groundwater is always at least 55 degrees. We don't get colder than that. Our temperatures do, but our freeze line is, for actual freezing weather, is less than 4 inches. So my water pipes are buried more than 4 inches. So it's never colder than the 55 degrees. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to actually get that cold tolerance built up so that if I get to go back to the cold waters, I can participate in the wild swimming, because that seemed really cool. And we did have quite a few people on board that took part in that, and I commend them for it, because I sure couldn't. And there were jellyfish in the water, which one of the girls actually punched a jellyfish in the nose, and thinking it was a plastic bag, didn't even realize it was a jellyfish. And then one of the people on board that did not have MS, that was in the water with them, was actually stung all over by these jellyfish. Fortunately, they weren't the type like I've been stung by in Florida that are poisonous, so there was no poison reaction. It was just, like painfully stinging. And I felt really bad for her, and I think all of us did. We were all bringing out our concoctions of how to stop that kind of thing. I don't know that any of it really stopped it, because this was an actual sting, not nerves that were messed up. So I'm not sure that we were of much help, but we tried our best to be helpful to Emma, and make the stinging stop, because I know it was painful. But yeah, we all had this wonderful, wonderful journey and experience. And I really, really hope that you guys out there will look up the Oceans of Hope and see what they have to offer. Because if you don't want to go on a sailing challenge, they have other things that you can do and participate in. And you might just find that you're more capable, way more capable than you think. And then way more capable than your doctor thinks. So, my challenge to you guys is to look them up and to see what's out there that you feel like you might be comfortable with. And to give yourself a pat on the back for any small improvement, because improvements are improvements. And those little bitty tiny improvements that I was making back when I was in physical therapy grew and grew and grew to the point that I did get to go on this sailing challenge. And I did solve all these physical issues. But now I just have to work on the cognitive ones a little bit harder, I think, and get my brain working silently again. Oh, and my time is up, of course, but check us out. Check out ladyofavenel.com and scroll down, and you can look up the MS challenges from there. You scroll down the page. And then look up Oceans of Hope, because they do have lots to offer. And hopefully within, as I figure out more and more about how to use the stuff that I should know how to use, I can start raising some funds for these guys, because they're doing a world of good for all of us. So it's time to sign off, and I just want to say before I go, thank you to Erica Lyons Richardson for creating this great network for us, and thank you to all you for listening, because without y'all, I wouldn't be here. And of course, as I tell you every week, remember to smile big, smile often, laugh a lot. And most importantly, love yourself, your whole entire self, including your wacky MS stuff. So, thanks, guys. Bye.